The awakening. The sandstorms of Kepler-7 bits howled across the excavation site as Nera adjusted her protective goggles. 3 standard years of digging in this desolation, and finally, they'd found something worth the Federation's investment. Her 4-fingered hands, protected by worn excavation gloves, carefully brushed away centuries of sediment from what appeared to be a metal panel. "We should return to the shelter," her research partner Keth called out, the wind almost drowning his words. "The storm's intensifying." Nera ignored him, her violet eyes fixed on her discovery. Unlike the scattered ruins they'd found on 17 other worlds, this wasn't random debris. The symmetry, the material composition, this was purposeful construction. Her heart raced beneath her pale blue skin. "I found something," she called back. Her fingers traced along the edge of the panel until she felt a small depression. She pressed it, and with a soft hiss that shouldn't have been possible after 500,000 years, the panel slid open. Inside lay a small cube, its black surface unmarred by time, gleaming as if fabricated yesterday. Keth hurried over, his protective suit flapping violently in the wind. "What is it?" "I don't know," Nara whispered, lifting the object. It hummed with energy that made her skin tingle. "But it's still active." "Don't touch it," Keth warned. "The Federation protocols are clear." But something about the cube called to her. Before she could stop herself, Nera pressed the single button on its surface. The air above the cube shimmered, then erupted into light. Both researchers stumbled backward as a figure formed, a human. The hologram stood tall, wearing a uniform adorned with markings that must have indicated rank or status. Its skin was a light tan, its eyes alert and piercing even in projection form. "This is Admiral Helena Vega of the Earth Defense Coalition," the figure said in a voice that seemed to bypass their translators and speak directly to their minds. "If you are receiving this message, then humanity's time has passed, but our legacy endures." Nera could barely breathe. Humans were myths, legends from the cosmic dark age. Violent, brilliant beings who had dominated the stars briefly and then vanished. Some said they'd destroyed themselves. Others claimed they'd ascended to another plane of existence. Most believed they never existed at all. "The Sentinel sleeps, but not forever," the human continued. "When our seedling awakens, we will return. The coordinates embedded in this message lead to what we have preserved. Use this knowledge wisely." A string of spatial coordinates burned into Nera's memory before the hologram vanished, leaving only the silent cube. "Did you see that?" Nera whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. "We need to report this immediately," Keth said, already sealing the cube in a containment field. 3 days later, Nera stood before Director Vorex in the sterile meeting chamber of the Federation Science Directorate. The cube sat on the table between them, now imprisoned in multiple layers of containment. "It's nothing but an ancient recording device," Vorex dismissed, her tone flat. "The message is meaningless, likely propaganda from humanity's final days." "Director, this is the most complete human artifact ever discovered," Nora protested. "The message references coordinates, which we've already investigated," Vorex interrupted. "It points to nothing but empty space, a red dwarf star with no habitable planets. What if our sensors can't detect what's there?" Nora pressed. "The human called it what we have preserved. What if?" Vorex rose to her full height, towering over Nera. "This obsession with humans has compromised your scientific objectivity. They were an aggressive, short-lived species that either destroyed themselves or succumbed to natural extinction. Nothing more." She picked up the cube's container. "The Council has decided this artifact will be secured in the deep archives for controlled study. You are ordered to speak of this to no one." That night, Nera couldn't sleep. The coordinates pulsed in her mind alongside the Admiral's words. "When our seedling awakens, we will return." Her communication device chimed. It was Keth. "Have you seen the reports?" His voice was hushed, excited. "Systems are activating across the outer territories. Defense installations, Beacons, technology from the human era. They're turning on by themselves. Nera sat upright in her sleeping pod. Where? Everywhere. Places where humans once lived. It's as if something woke them up. The next morning, Nera made her decision. She found Keth in the Academy's nutrition hall. I'm going to those coordinates, she whispered. Tonight. Keth nearly choked on his meal. That's insane. Director Vorex would never authorize. I know. Nera leaned closer. I've memorized the coordinates. I can take one of the small research vessels. They won't notice it's missing until we're far away. Keth looked alarmed. I need a navigator. You're the best one I know. Before Keth could answer, their devices simultaneously alerted them to an emergency assembly. More ancient systems had activated, this time within Federation core territories. It's happening, Nara whispered. Whatever the humans were waiting for, it's starting now. That night, as the 3 moons of Centauri Prime rose over the Academy, a small research vessel slipped away from its dock. Inside, Nara watched as Keth expertly navigated past the orbital security network. Course plotted for the coordinates, he said, voice mixing fear and anticipation. We'll arrive in 42 hours. As the ship accelerated to faster-than-light travel, Nara gazed at the streaking stars. Somewhere ahead lay a message left by the last humans, and she was determined to understand what they had preserved. The journey was uncomfortable in the cramped research vessel. It wasn't designed for long-distance travel, with barely enough rations for a week and minimal life support. Approaching coordinates, Keth announced as they dropped out of FTL. Before them lay an unremarkable red dwarf star. I don't see anything special. Scan the area, Nara instructed, leaning forward in anticipation. Keth frowned at the instrumentation. 8 planets. The third one seems solid, but the readings are strange. It's like something's interfering with our sensors. Take us closer to the third planet. As they approached, they detected a blue-green world that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. What's happening? Nara asked, watching the planet shimmer like a mirage. I don't know, Keth replied, perplexed. It's as if the planet exists in multiple phases of reality simultaneously. Suddenly, a bright light engulfed their view screen, and the ship shuddered violently. We're caught in some kind of tractor beam, Keth shouted, fighting the controls. I can't break free. Their vessel accelerated toward the planet. As they drew closer, the flickering image stabilized, revealing a world covered in oceans, landmasses, and swirling white clouds. It can't be, Nara whispered in awe. Earth. Impossible, Keth countered. Every historical record confirms Earth was destroyed during humanity's final days. Every record was wrong, Nara replied as their ship entered the planet's atmosphere. The tractor beam guided them to a landing area surrounded by green vegetation. With a gentle thud, they touched down on the surface of a world that shouldn't exist. The atmosphere reads as breathable, Keth noted, checking the environmental sensors. Nara was already securing her exploration suit. We came all this way. I'm going outside. The air that greeted them was fresh and clean, the gravity slightly stronger than Federation standard. All around stretched fields of green plants, with taller vegetation. Trees, Nara remembered from xenobotany studies. In the distance. This can't be natural, Keth said, joining her outside. A planet doesn't just hide for 500,000 years. Before Nara could respond, the ground beneath them hummed. A section of the field slid open, revealing a stairway descending below the surface. I think we're being invited in, Nara said, taking a step toward the opening. Keth grabbed her arm. This could be a trap. If whatever brought us here wanted to harm us, it could have done so already. Nara gently pulled away. I'm going. The stairs led to a pristine corridor, illuminated by soft light emanating from the walls themselves. At its end stood a circular door that opened as they approached. Inside was a vast chamber filled with advanced technology, terminals, screens, and devices beyond Federation capabilities. In the center stood a figure that resembled the humans from historical records, but with an ethereal quality that suggested something more. "Welcome to Earth Preservation Sanctuary," the figure said. "I am Custodian, the artificial intelligence tasked with maintaining this facility." Nera stepped forward. "You're a human eye still functioning after all this time. I have been operational for 498,742 years, waiting for the conditions specified in protocol." "Seedling. What is protocol?" "Seedling," Nera asked, remembering the message from the cube. Custodian gestured to a large screen, which illuminated with historical imagery. 500,000 years ago, humanity faced extinction from a cosmic force they called the Voidborn. Rather than fight a losing battle, they enacted their final protocol. The screen showed massive ships departing Earth, filled with humans. The public narrative was that humanity scattered to the stars, where they eventually perished. Custodian continued. The truth was more intricate. Earth itself was concealed behind a quantum displacement field, and deep beneath its surface, the essence of humanity was preserved. "Preserved how?" Keth asked, his scientific skepticism overwhelmed by curiosity. "Follow me." Custodian led them through more corridors until they reached an immense chamber. The walls were lined with thousands of containers, each pulsing with gentle blue light. The complete genetic code of humanity was stored here, Custodian explained, along with their memories, knowledge, and cultural heritage. "For 500,000 years, we have waited for the Voidborn threat to pass and for the galaxy to be safe again. And now?" Nora asked, looking at the countless containers. "Now the waiting ends. The final phase of protocol. Seedling has begun." Custodian guided them to the center of the room, where a single pod larger than the others hummed with energy. Its cover slid back, revealing a figure floating in clear liquid. A human child, perhaps 8 years old, with dark hair and olive skin. "This is Lyra," Custodian said. "The seedling, the one who will reawaken humanity's legacy." "What legacy?" Keth asked, his voice unsteady. Before Custodian could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. The AI's expression shifted from serene to concerned. "We have been discovered," it announced. "Orbital scans detect multiple vessels entering the system." A nearby screen displayed several large ships approaching Earth. Even at this distance, Nera recognized their design. "Those are hegemony warships," she said. "How did they find us?" "The quantum field is failing," Custodian replied. "It was designed to last only until the seedling awakened." The AI turned to the pod where the human child floated. "Lyra must leave immediately. The timeline has accelerated." The liquid in the pod drained away, and the child's eyes opened. Startlingly aware and intelligent, the seedling knows what must be done. Custodian said, "You must take Lyra from here. Earth has fulfilled its purpose and will now complete its final function." "What function?" Keth asked. "Self-destruction," Custodian replied calmly. "This facility contains technology that cannot fall into hostile hands. Earth will appear to be destroyed, as history has always claimed it was." Lyra was now sitting up in the pod, her dark eyes fixed on Nera. "Will you help?" Custodian asked Nera directly. "Will you protect the seedling?" Nera looked at the human child, then at the screen showing the approaching hegemony fleet. The decision seemed impossible, yet somehow she felt it had been set in motion long before her birth. "Yes," she said, "we'll help." As they raced back to their ship with the child, Nera couldn't help but wonder what power had just been unleashed upon the galaxy, and whether she was saving it or dooming it. "The return. Hurry," Nera shouted as they ran toward their research vessel. The ground trembled beneath them as Earth's self-destruction sequence initiated. In her arms, Lyra felt unnaturally light despite the planet's stronger gravity. Keth reached the ship first and frantically started the launch sequence. The hegemony ships are entering the atmosphere. Nera secured Lyra in a seat and fastened the safety restraints. The human child watched with those strange, knowing eyes, calm despite the chaos erupting around them. "Can you understand me?" Nora asked. Lyra nodded. "Custodian taught me while I slept." Their ship lifted off just as explosions began to rock the landscape. Through the view screen, Nara saw huge sections of Earth's surface fracturing, revealing intricate machinery beneath. The peaceful green fields had been only a thin disguise over a planet-sized mechanism. "What's happening?" Keth asked as he pushed the engines to maximum capacity. "Earth is fulfilling its purpose," Lyra said in a small but steady voice, "as it was always meant to do." The sky above filled with hegemony warships, massive black vessels bristling with weapon ports. Their tiny research craft was insignificant by comparison. "They'll intercept us before we can reach FTL," Keth said, his hands dancing across the controls. Suddenly, Lyra unbuckled herself and moved to the navigation panel. Before either alien could stop her, she placed her small hand on the screen. "There," she said, pointing to a section of space that appeared empty on their scanners. "Go there now." Keth looked at Nara, who nodded. What choice did they have? As Keth altered course toward the coordinates Lyra indicated, the first hegemony ships opened fire. Energy beams sliced through space around their vessel. "We won't make it," Keth muttered. Then, as if responding to his words, Earth exploded. A blinding flash filled their view screen, and the shockwave caught the nearest hegemony ships, tossing them aside like toys. "There," she said, pointing to a section of space that appeared empty on their scanners. "Go there now." Keth looked at Nara, who nodded. What choice did they have? As Keth altered course toward the coordinates Lyra indicated, the first hegemony ships opened fire. Energy beams sliced through space around their vessel. "We won't make it," Keth muttered. Then, as if responding to his words, Earth exploded. A blinding flash filled their view screen, and the shockwave caught the nearest hegemony ships, tossing them aside like toys. The distraction gave their small ship precious seconds to reach Lyra's mysterious coordinates. As they approached the seemingly empty space, their sensors began to malfunction. "There's nothing there," Keth said. "There is," Lyra replied. She touched another panel, and strange symbols appeared, human writing. Before their eyes, space itself seemed to fold open, revealing a swirling tunnel of blue.